This is Chris from DSX Machina, and I am with
Dave from Map and Wolf Games. Together, we form...
I thought we had a moment there.
Great Wii Gamers. So today we're going to be doing our top 100 list. We are at numbers 40 through
31.
Yes, correct.
Now we're getting this is the point, and officially, where I hate to say like games stop sucking, but this is the point where it's just like there is nothing to criticize.
No.
At this point on, these games they're solid cash. If you owned 40 games, these are all 40 good choices. Not like this is 40th place. I would recommend this if I've recommended 40 games, this would be the 40th game I'd recommend. Every one of these could be a number one.
Yep.
But obviously not. And I was BSing before. I don't have any Cult of New, but I do have games that I've played only like twice. But I think I have enough information to really justify it.
Yeah.
But I have a couple oldies, but not very many.
All right. So starting in at number 40.
That's it. Close me out of the water.
Is the deck building, dungeon crawling Dragonfire from Cataclysm Lab Games.
Dragonfire.
I probably screwed up their name, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
The company name. No, the name of the game's right. Dragonfire.
Catalyst Game Lab. Fucked it up. Sorry.
Anyway, so how similar is Dragonfire to the Pathfinder one? Is Dragonfire is pure deck building, right?
Dragonfire is deck building, but you then have to... there's no dice. It's literally just... You have your hand of cards, and you have a monster, and he's attacking you, and he has symbols down the side. And the symbols basically match what you have on your cards, so you have to play a certain amount of cards to match those symbols, which then take him down. But you can never kill a monster. Excuse me. In one hand, usually. So while you're facing off against your monster, everyone else is facing off against their own monster, and then they can help you as long as the monster didn't pull you to another location, in which case then you're by yourself.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah,
I haven't played this, have I? I think I've seen the game played. I think you showed it to me. I have not played Dragonfire, which is funny because I play D&D so much. Yeah. I think the reason why is like I write D&D in my life.
Yeah.
So playing a game that has that name is not as interesting to me.
Yeah, the thing I find interesting
about...
That was
a smaller box. There are tons of expansions, I guess, eh?
Oh, yeah, well, that's the small box. There's the big box is around here somewhere.
Yeah.
The one thing I found interesting about the game is that it has your character's shield, which is up in front of you. And if
it's competitive.
It's cooperative.
Okay.
And as you play your game, what it is that on the back of the shield you have certain abilities, and as you advance through the campaign, you actually have stickers that you apply to that shield, and then you build your character's abilities.
Oh, that's so cool. So there is actually progressive level.
Yeah, there is progressive leveling, and you get the harder stuff. There's actually a campaign with a little book that gives you a little flavor text and tells you what's happening, and it's actually quite in depth. I'm sad to see that it hasn't caught on as much as it should.
Yeah. Not a lot of people talk about it anymore.
No. So that's my number 40, Dragonfire.
I didn't notice you have Nemesis Lockdown in a box over there.
It's up there.
It's up there?
Yeah.
Also still sealed.
Yep.
I did not back that. My number 40. I'm going to try to check here. No, I still have quite a few cooperative games, but this is actually one of my favorites for its unique mechanic. It is, I'll say it's one of the most fair and balanced cooperative games on the market. And even though I know there are games that have been out longer, I find this one incredibly fair because it doesn't try to overly screw you by adding in randomized elements to make things difficult. Yes, there's a die, but the die only has like 0, 1, 2, 3. Like it's not a complicated thing. And yeah, there's a deck of cards, but it's a very mild random. The point is, unlike say Defenders of the Last Stand, which have 12 or 13 random variables, and we talked about Who Goes There, which has about a dozen random variables. This one has like 2, and is still able to be very engaging and has a lot of replayability, and it's called Rising 5 Runes of Esteros. You must have that game.
Yes.
Yes. The reason why I like it, the only thing holding against it, which is not a criticism, is the fact that everyone's playing all the characters. So so I'm not playing one guy. We're literally playing everybody, and we have cards in our hands, and we determine to activate one of the characters. And there's an app which you really should use because that controls the puzzle. If you don't use the app, then somebody has to be the GM, and it does not have fun because he's not actually enjoying the storyline. He's simply just saying you're right or you're wrong. If you have the app, do it. There's the whole thing, and there's a lot of brain thing. I like other games where you're just like, I'm moving here, but my success is going to be determined by my rolls. Rising 5, most of the difficulty is you literally looking at the puzzle and solving it.
Yeah.
It's just a good visual puzzle. It's got a lot of
It's Mastermind, the board game.
Yeah, it's very similar to Mastermind, except the app takes over the puzzle element, so it's cooperative.
Yeah, it takes over the creepy guy in the white suit.
Exactly. So that is my number 40, Rising 5. One of the better... It's also not terribly expensive. I think you can get it for like under $50 Canadian.
I think so, yeah. All right, my number 39.
39. We never have enough delays to have the number.
No.
We just jump into the number. Okay.
No, we don't. There we go. That should be enough. Is one of my favorite genre of games, but also it's one of my least favorite genre of games.
And it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
And it's that game where it's...
Alpha analysis paralysis?
No, where you're trying to communicate psychically with your group. And this is Mysterium. I have had a lot of fun playing this game, and I have had some times where you have that person, like you have one person who's on par with you, they're picking up everything you're giving them, the vision cards, and they're guessing exactly right off the bat what it is you're giving them. And then the rest of the people at the table talk them out of it.
The best part for me, like there's like 3 phases of the whole game.
Yeah.
And I was with 2 strangers I had never really met before, and 2 of my closest friends. And one of these strangers was the spirit, the kind of games master.
Yep.
And I'm catching everything right. Like he's throwing me hints, I'm catching everyone. We're like, man, we are copacetic for being strangers. My issue with the game is that virtually nothing about the first 2 acts bleeds into the 3rd act. So it's just like, wait, what was the last 45 minutes about? So we get 2 or 3 wrong answers. Like that was it. We spent 35, 40 minutes playing this game to get 3 guesses.
Yep.
Like that, like there's a lot of there's a lot of preamble to get to an act where not very little leads into it. That's my only issue with the game. Is the 3rd act feels so detached from the 1st act. You can do everything right and still lose just because you can't guess the final.
The one thing I always find with that game is you're getting everyone to guess their stuff. They're going through the things, and it's even worse if you have a full table. So I'm talking 6 people guessing, 1 person's the ghost. That's 7 people.
I've never played a group that large.
They go through, they find their killers, they find their locations, they find their items, and this is where the game always inevitably falls down, no matter how many times I play it. Trying to explain to them that one of the collections of cards is the right collection, and all you've done is narrow it down to possible options. Now you must guess the correct collection. It always falls apart.
If this is your game group that also played Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, I will totally understand that.
It doesn't matter. Any game group I play with, that's where that game falls apart. They always seem to be just like, I don't understand. It's like, oh my god, seriously. Yeah, so that's where that one falls apart. But that's why it's at 39 and it's not lower.
We were just having a conversation at the beginning saying, all these games are good. And then here you are, like, spending all this time.
Oh, no, trust me. This game deserves to be where it is. It's a great game, but it's at 39. That's a why. So.
Yeah, like Mysterium is a game that I keep on, like, it's always been on a wish list. And I never pulled the trigger. Yeah. And because I always remember, it's like, that's that freaking last act. And when am I going to have enough players to play that game properly? Yeah. My number 39 is probably going to be controversial because it's not a popular game. This is one of... right up there with Planet Apocalypse. There's a handful of games on my top 100 that are very few people like. And I go out and I defend it to people. And because there are other variations of this game which are extremely popular. Way more popular than this one. And this is First Martians, Adventures on the Red Planet. And I will go into detail why. Yes, I know that it has one of the worst written manuals out there. That's the only thing it has against it. To the point that fans made a really good-looking, polished manual that's better that you can download, right? The fact that It's a game I kind of mostly know. I mean, if you play Robinson Crusoe, which is a lot easier to know, then you're 70% there. And then it has the website in the kind of app. And I like how they do it because it adds more story and stops you from gaming the deck, which you can totally do in Robinson Crusoe. I'm doing the campaign. The campaign is very interesting, which is something else Robinson only started doing recently, and this is part of First Martian's basic core. I love the sci-fi. It's a harder game to get to the table, but every time I play it, I actually enjoy it. But it's also not it's not impossible. I find it easier than Robinson Crusoe, which is another big one. Yeah, but not all people like it. It's not liked by a lot of people, and that's First Martian's Adventures on the Red Planet.
There's 84 on my list.
Yeah. It was way up. It was on your list, but it was way up.
Yeah. So my
30. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
38.
So
I'm fondling the 38.
That's all right. So my number 38 is the second reimagining, or no, is it the first reimagining? First reimagining of this game, and I think they decided, yep, no, we got it right, so we are going to pound the hell out of this thing for money.
Wait, X-Wing.
Nope.
I thought I had it there because I know you didn't care for X-Wing because they have the second edition, and then
you know what ended up happening? My friend, rest his soul, passed away. I bought all of his stuff off his widow. Turned out he had upgraded everything to second edition, so now I have X-Wing the second edition.
Oh.
So it's all sitting right there. That's what all that stuff in the corner is. So I'm kind of nonplussed about X-Wing second edition now.
Then I have no idea what this is.
So this one, it came out a while ago. The first edition box was about yay big. So, you know, yay big, by yay big, by yay big. And that was with everything in it. This one, the boxes are this big, by this big, by this big. And they are so far up to 3 of them. And that is Thunderstone Quest.
Oh! That should have been the clue because the stack is right there.
Yeah, that's the stack right there. So this game is massive. It is so heavy it actually bends my shelves. That's why it's sitting on the floor right now.
Right.
So yeah, there is so many cards, and they did this thing where they released an epic variant, which basically you buy the regular stuff, and you can also get an add-on, which is the epic variant, which is all the cards that, you know, you have like 5 of this, 5 of that, 5 of this, 5 of this monster. They did basically, they put aside 1 of each type in a deck that's all together, so you can play the epic variant and experience the entire game without having to do like multiple playthroughs. Apparently it's Tom's favorite way of playing the game.
Considering that's a deck builder, that's just insane how big that is.
It is.
That's like, it feels like there's more cards in there than Dominion.
Yeah, they're all full. Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's got a play mat, and the dungeons you move through go down it's ridiculous how involved that is, and even if they were to come out with any more of it, I'm done. There's no more room on my shelves without like building.
Well, considering you're going
shelves.
to have to dedicate a quarter of your shelf for Massive Darkness.
Oh, yeah. Let's not go there. So yeah, that's my number.
Tower of Massive Darkness.
Yeah, that's my number 38 is Thunderstone Quest.
Mine is not nearly as epic. It's interesting that when it comes to this designer, I had his name at the tip of my tongue, and then for some reason I had Bruno Catalda in my head, and that's not his name. Vincent Lacerda. No, it's not Lacerda. Damn it!
Are you talking about the Vlada Chavatal?
No. I'll have the name posted right here because it's gonna kick the crap out of me. And I find it very interesting the fact that I heard about people talking about him a lot, and he does games for Eagle Griffin, and they are beasts. I would love to buy every game if it wasn't the fact that every game's $150 American.
Isn't Eagle Griffin the ones who did that horrible...
Yes, but he didn't design that.
Okay.
Eagle Griffin have responsible for Titan Dice and these giant, overproduced, beautiful games. They don't have minis, and yet they're still like $150 because everything, it's like, it weighs like a car. And that's ironic, or coincidental, because this entry is called Kanban.
Ah, yes.
I only started discovering this guy, and There are some game designers that think theme and then they put mechanics in, and there's a certain level of complexity. This designer who's Portuguese, and I'm Portuguese, I don't know how his mind works. Because in my life, and I've been working in game mechanics for almost 30 years, I do not understand how his brain can create a game system that complex and make it work. Like, Kanban has 4 or 5 different ways you can score points. It is one of the most complicated systems because it's basically an engine, not your area, but the board is an engine, because cars are moving from here to here, and then they're going over here, and then things here affect here, and then things affect here, and things here. There is such a mix, and then all players are doing are moving across this one track, and then they do things at these locations. It is incredibly fun. It is a game where if you know how to play it, and you're with people that don't, you are going to destroy them because they have no idea. This might fall off the list heavily because after 3 playthroughs, someone said, if you go for this one strategy, you always win. And it's just one route of points. It's not even the main point. There are these side sliders that you can do instead of the big action. And I thought, well, those aren't terribly important because they're so small. Turns out they are incredibly powerful and give you massive early bonuses that can just completely swing the game. So I'm hoping that that's an isolated incident and it's not one of those situations where I'll just play that way and then I'll win 80% of the time. But I still love the way the game looks. I would say do not buy Eevee. Like, you can buy Kanban for like under $60, and it's a perfectly good game. Kanban Eevee, which all it does is add electric and make the game look different. It doesn't actually, it's not a reboot, is $200. Like 160, I've seen it for $175. You cannot buy Kanban Eevee under $150, even on discount. It is so expensive. So, like I said, if you can find the earlier Kanban, like Driver's Edition, which was the second printing of the first game, get that. It's the same game. So that is my number 38 Kanban. Number 37.
All right, so my number 37. Personal bias on this, only the sense that I have a love-hate relationship with the publisher. Partially because they decided to take a really good game, reboot it as a second edition, and it pissed off the community so bad.
Now are we talking about XWing?
Nope.
Every single time you bring this up, like, this is XWing, isn't it? Okay.
No, this one, that a lot of people actually just were like, you know what, fine. Because when they said they were going to do something with this game, we were like, sweet, are you going to release more content for it? No, we're going to re-release it. And we're going to make it incompatible with the stuff you've already got.
And this isn't the
Nope, this is... this company, this isn't the game. This is why I have an issue with this publisher. But that game was Eclipse Dawn, New Dawn for a Galaxy. So the publisher is colossal, but the game is Western Legends.
Oh, not... Okay, not...
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Western Legends. I don't like the publisher. Western Legends, though, is a great sandbox style. At least I think it's sandbox style because you can...
Sandbox,
yeah. Western game. There's not really many sandbox style games. There's like Zaya, and there's this one, and I guess you could call Pick Up and Deliver. No.
Well, it's that plus a lot of things. It's a sandbox game, so you can do a lot of things. I have actually not played that game, just because I think it's because I'm not a huge fan of the genre. The genre is fine, but we have Great Western Trail, and Nicole adores that game. So there's always part of me. I know the games are nothing alike, but there's part of me just like, well, we're just gonna play Great Western Trail again.
Yeah,
even though I know we're gonna pick up Western Legends eventually.
Yeah. So that's my number 37. I won't go into my 38, 37.
No, 37. Yeah.
37. Yeah, Western Legends. It's a great game. There's a lot to it. They just had the big box. I think it's on Kickstarter. Won't be by the time this video comes out, but that's okay. So, yeah. Western Legends.
My number 37, like I said, it just came out that these two titles were connected to each other because it's done by the same guy who created the last game, Kanban. And I'm slowly getting into his games, and I got Mercado recently, which is the smallest game he makes, And I got Lisboa, even though I haven't opened it yet. He has a new game coming on Kickstarter very soon, which is about robots, which I'm really interested in because it looks so interesting. But I know it's going to be $200. But this game I had to buy, no matter how much it cost. Thankfully, I got it used from somebody, and that is Vinos.
Oh,
Vinos is one of my. It's part of a very small but growing genre of wine-themed games. Like the other title that everybody knows about, Vinos is about wine business cultivation. The difference is, of course, it's centered in Portugal, and it has stuff like Porto and the Azores and so forth. And it's also not about you running one winery, but running one winery with many fields scattered across the entire countryside. And it does have, even though it has the same kind of theme as viticulture, it has a very, very different way of playing it, different ways of scoring points. The judging system is very, very different. Feels short, but your abilities explode in the last 2 rounds. I was thinking, like, 9 rounds? This game's going to be over in 9 rounds? That's it? And then you get to 9 rounds, it's like, well, every one of my fields is full. If I can play one more time, I'm just repeating the previous round. So it is a big-ass game. Like I said, both Vinos and Lisboa are like that big. They're gigantic games. And they're wonderful. But that is my number 37, Vinos.
all right.
I have this funny. I have a theory. We'll see it. Number 36.
All right. My number 36 is based in a galaxy of games. So it's sci-fi. This one is, I think, their 3rd or 4th one in the series of this games. But it is the New Frontiers, the Race for the Galaxy board game. So you had Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy. This one, so
these
maybe it's only 3.
I don't know why I don't have any of these.
They're really good.
I heard Roll for the Galaxy is really good.
Roll for the Galaxy I recommend heavily. This one is right up there. I haven't played Race for the Galaxy, but that's just because it's just
so which one's on this list then?
Actually, Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy should have been on here. I think maybe it didn't make it, which is sad. But this one is is what I just said, New Frontiers, Race for the Galaxy board game. So this one, you're trying to colonize the galaxy. There's a lot of this is what I'm doing this turn. What are you going to be doing? Okay, everybody that's doing the same action gets to do something. The only thing this game sometimes falls down on is the iconography. Sometimes it's a lot of icons where you then have also text mashed with the icons. It's information overload. I find a lot of times.
There's some games that were like that.
So that's why this one is where it is in the list, and so that's New Frontiers, the Race for the Galaxy board game, number 36.
I think it's part of a group of games which are like, I know this game's fantastic, but I know this game is old, and I always want to get newer games, and it's a bias that doesn't work.
This one's a new one.
It's new? Because I think Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy. My number 36 was. It's actually going to be a question of how close you are to mine, because I know this game is going to be on your list.
Okay.
But when is it going to pop up? Because the last 2 times we had carryovers, they were really close to each other.
Okay.
With 2 of them were within 10 of each other. This is a sandbox game. It is my favorite sandbox game.
Yeah, it's a ways down for me.
It's still a ways down?
Yeah.
Which goes to tell you how good all the other games are. In fact, I bet you, like next time we ever do a list like this is going to jump up a lot. And I think the reason why it doesn't, I think it's because once you start playing the game, there are no surprises.
And I'll say the name because he always gets it wrong. It's Zaya.
Gia. Legends of the Drift System. Yeah. This is a game that I wish the developer would just sink his teeth into some expanded content. He has 1 expansion which adds a marketplace and 1 extra ship and
that's because he's now moved on to a different type of game. It's called Iridia. And it's fantasy kind of woodland creatures type of game. Same ideas.
If he came out with like a campaign version of Gia, where it was just
This
like
one has got a campaign, I'm pretty sure.
like a story based or something that, because the thing is that, or if he combines something like this with something you see in Near and Far, where when you go to a planet, there's actually a storied encounter. But once you start playing Gia, it's all about boosting your abilities, figuring out what you're going to do for this ability, and then soup up your vehicle, and then get to a certain number of points. Oh, I just finished. How much did it earn? No, that's not a slouch.
Mil.
That's not a slouch.
Nope. On a side note, out to his family because his kid's got cancer.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, work on Gia, buddy. Yeah, so it's the minis are painted. It's also the only game that my wife rage quitted. My wife never rage quits. I've come close to rage quitting a game, but I've always stuck to it because I don't want to make people miserable by walking away from a game. Mm-hmm. And Nicole rage quit Gia one time. Actually, the last time we played, she rage quit. And I know, and she has no one to blame but herself. She was being flagrant, and then she went to the pirate planet. Yep. Got a bounty, and then got destroyed by the police cruiser.
Nice.
Right, and of course, what happens is you lose a turn, you go back to the beginning. And she was in such a poor state because she had cargo, she lost all of that, and she was at that point, you're done. Like, I was already in the lead. I had 2 other players that were already working on their system, and she knew at that point that she was never going to catch up to anybody. Yeah. And so she's like, okay, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. And I was like, honey, you did this to yourself. It wasn't like a bad roll. It wasn't like a random card, and suddenly you got the victim. You literally went into the pirate base and did smuggling, and then literally got too close to the pirate cruiser and it attacked you and killed you. Like, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Well, this one you would want to get for her because they have like kitty cat.
No, she got her freaking cat game.
But they also have like you can change their loadouts.
No, she got Calico. She got Alley Cat. She's not getting any more freaking anyway. That's Gia Legend of a Dress System. Great sandbox game. My favorite sandbox game. Maybe Western Legends is better, but I like Gia. Anyway, number 35.
All right. Now we're coming in at number 35. The guy is just known as Travis on Kickstarter. No. Okay. All right. It is Aeons End.
Oh, wow. That's way off from me. Mine was in the 90s.
Yep.
Yeah, 98 for Aeons End. But you also have the Legacy version, don't you?
I have the Legacy version, and I've got a whole bunch of other stuff. It's right there.
Yeah.
I have like pretty much all of his stuff. So, this game is one of the best deck builders I've encountered. However, it is also one of the most frustrating deck builders because you can't shuffle your cards. And for some reason, I find that so frustrating.
It's also got the mechanic. I like a good mechanic. I like where the cards you don't play, you get to keep.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Like, that's the only deck builder that I know that does that. I'm thinking, it's not rocket science. It's a good rule. Why don't more people use it?
Yep. So, yeah, it's there's so many iterations of Aeons End, so I'm just lumping them all together. It's hard to talk about any and say any is better than the other. However, I will say the Aeons End Legacy was actually quite fun in the sense we played through it. We got to the end and now lift the insert for the other third. And I was like, what now? Lift the insert is like, oh, there's still more game. And it's just like,
I take my hat to that side.
It was actually pretty good because it was just like, all right, fair enough.
I haven't seen like something like that with the exit game did that, where we're just like, wait a second, what? And
yeah, well, Cards Against Humanity did it too.
Yeah, the bigger blacker. Yeah,
the bigger blacker card. Yeah,
but that's you had to cut into the box to get that out.
Well, the thing is,
I had that box for a month before someone told me, like, there's a card hidden inside. Like, no, and I was like, I'm not gonna cut into this thing. And I felt around like, oh my god, there's a card there.
Yeah, I cut into it. I was just like,
yeah, was that right?
Yeah. So that was so that's my number 35. Aeons End. I mean, obviously, if I had to say one was better than all the rest, I might have to pick Legacy over the other ones, but it's hard to say.
I like the idea of that being Legacy. I just I don't know why Nicole just didn't care for the game. I thought it was fun.
You played Legacy?
No, not Legacy, just a basic Aeons End.
Oh, yeah, you should try Aeons End Legacy. The one thing I do like about Aeons End Legacy, and the funny part is that I bought the reset pack, so I can actually reset my Aeons End Legacy to the beginning as if it has never been played.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
My number 35 is a game I wasn't expecting to like. The first time I played it, I thought it was okay. The second time I played it, I thought it was really good. It is a good old-fashioned dice chucker game. I really like it.
Pathfinder adventure card game.
Nope, it's Kingsburg.
Never heard of it.
Kingsburg is you roll dice, and you can either pick the numbers separately or combine them, and then you put those dice out, and you get the reward. And then you slowly build your assets. You're moving features here and there, and eventually, by the end of the round, if you do that a couple times, you get potentially enough strength to fight this NPC horde that attacks your castle. And there's that way, and there are a couple of other ways to get points. I don't know why people compare this so much with Alien Frontiers. Because Alien Frontiers is a die placement locking game. And I know Kingsburg is similar to the point that you roll 2 dice, or you roll a number of dice, usually 2 dice. And then you can place them. And once you place the die, someone else can't put their dice there. But there's so many other options. I've never seen a situation where somebody couldn't use where they roll their dice. But it's very fun. The second edition, I don't know why it's expensive in some circles. Like, I know our local game place sells it for like $90, and it's like, no, this is a $50 game. But yeah, no, it's very simple, classic game. That's Kingsburg, number 35.
All right.
Number 34.
So my number 34, we're not going to really talk about that much, just because I'm pretty sure we talked about it already on one of yours. And that's Dice Forge.
Really? I didn't think Dice Forge would be on your list. Dice Forge is, I think, in my top 20. Where's Dice Forge?
I think you've already mentioned it.
Yep, I did. 69.
Yep. 69. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so Dice Forge, being able to actually pop your die faces out and play the game. But it doesn't get to the table that often, but that's just because, for some reason, it still feels too complex in some ways almost.
Well, I was saying when I mentioned it, the only issue with the game is that I have to relearn it every single time.
Yeah. So and that's the only thing that really kind of is the other thing I do think this game suffers from is analysis paralysis, because there's that constant min-max person always going to be there who's like, well, if I do this, I can maximize my potential. And it's just like, just pick something and see what happens. It's a die. You're not going to be able to, whatever. So, yeah, it's a game that I enjoy, but it's not one I reach for when I want to play a board game. So that's why it's at number 34, Dice Forge.
My number 34 is the opposite of that game and the game I just mentioned. This is, I won't call this a miniature forward game because it's not like Hellboy where it has 150 minis. What?
That's pretty much all minis.
Yeah. It does.
In fact, that has 3 minis in it.
But that being said, even though it doesn't have a lot of minis, the minis it does have are amazing and gigantic. But the joke is the fact that, and I've said this is a fantastic $40 game. That's that's $150 because its miniatures are gigantic, and because it's gigantic.
Druid City.
Nope. That's not on my list.
Oh,
that game is probably like a 150 or so. It's got a lot of problems, but it's still a game. Like I said, it has gigantic minis that would dwarf Tidal Blades, and
Planet Apocalypse.
Yep, Planet Apocalypse. Now I'm not going to mention anything because I know Sandy Peterson is got his foot in his mouth. He's got foot in his mouth disease right now. It seems like every single time I talk to a designer. It seems like, oh, you're an ass. Damn it. And I may be interviewing Sandy next week, which we would have had it already by the time this video goes up. But yeah, I mean, Sandy Peterson reblogged my video of my wife's reaction to the Cthulhu in that thing. But I love the fact that he has the same die escalation mechanic that I use in Ultramodern. I've had mine for about 12 years, so I think I beat him on that one. But I love turning die 6s into die 8s and then getting more and more powerful. And the fact that you're leveling these characters. And the board is this big, but it's literally like 6 positions because the monsters take up so much space. Like every single space is that big because the monsters are so big. But it's so much fun. And I love... and
what's the space one called again? Hyperspace, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't touched any of his other titles, and I didn't even bag Planet Apocalypse 2, even though I was incredibly tempted. I think because I only have a couple of games, I have 3 games of this down. The only thing it's missing is that I wished it was story-based. Even though it implies there is a sequence, it doesn't tell you what the sequence is, but if you read the comic, it tells you the sequence of events because you'll know, oh, they're going here, they're going here. But the fact that there isn't like carryover experience, right? The fact that you reset all your characters back to 0 when you start the next episode, that I wish that it did that. But you've got the most amazing miniatures done by a guy I know, a guy named Keith Thompson, who is a frickish, amazing, demented genius making these designs. That was the reason why I backed it. I didn't know anything about the game or the game designer, but I backed it because of Keith Thompson, and I really liked the game. It is not easy, but it's not overly hard. I like the simplicity of it. I like the way the cooperative elements work. I think it's a good cooperative game. The only issue is that it's gigantically overpriced for its rules. But Hellboy was the same way. Hellboy was like 4 pages of rules. This one has a bit more to it, but there's so much to it. I think if there's a Planet Apocalypse 3 with the whole thing, I might go into it again. But that's my number 34.
All right.
Planet Apocalypse.
And I won't comment on the designer either. So
33.
So this is a designer that came out of nowhere with a really cool concept for a game, which is, let's make your game box the board game. And that is Monster Slaughter. You've never played this one?
For a second, I thought you were doing that freaking what was the game? The game with the spaceship where you toss the dice in the box. And you have to hit the dice. I thought you hate that game.
No. This one is Monster Slaughter.
Okay. Where
you play the monsters trying to kill a cabin full of teenagers, and you get points for how many of them you get to kill. But they have ways of fighting you back.
How does the box get implemented?
The box is the actual cabin with door it's you know what, actually I will pull it out. So the actual box is the cabin, and then you put the walls in.
Is this part of it?
Yeah, those are the doors that get broken open.
That's clever. That's really cool.
And and basically each of these things lines up with a wall that creates and breaks us down into rooms, and then those walls have doors in them as well that you can break down, and the doors slot in, and
wow,
it's actually a really fun game. And the best part is that they have the people that you don't just have to go after, like the high school teenagers. I've got Ghostbusters. I've got Men in Black that you're trying to kill. They went for all the celebrity things. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
So that's my number 43, Monster Slaughter by Ankama Games.
My 33 is bouncing a lot because we went from a small game like Kingsburg to a giant game like Planet Apocalypse, and then to a small game, which is either going to go way high or it's going to fall off, because this could be Cult of the New. I know that it's not even my favorite deck builder, because there's another deck builder that's higher up. But I have to admit, I had my reservations. Then I got the game, and I realized like this is better than I thought it was. And I got really impressed. And I'm not even giving it favoritism because it's based off a movie I really like. That's Dune Imperium.
I'm trying to remember if that's the one I actually like.
That's the deck builder. That's the one that's exploding. That's the one they just had an expansion.
Yes,
They just
by Legendary.
They just had an expansion, Rise of Ix.
Got it.
Which I'm tempted to pick up. And I like the combat system. It's very passive. You may or may not go into that area, and you may get a benefit. And I love the system. I love how it works. It's competitive without being overtly. Like, it's so not like the old Dune game. Because the old Dune game is very competitive, very cutthroat.
That one's...
It's just flipping table angry, and Dune Imperium is almost as placid as a Hindu cow in comparison. And I think they did a really good job. And that is my number 33, Dune Imperium.
All right, my number 32... My number 32 is a game that pisses off some people I know, but at the same time pisses me off too, just because of the style of game it is. but I still can't stop myself from buying the expansions because it's a living card game in the sense that they will continue to keep releasing expansions for it over.
It's not going to be Lord of the Rings, is it?
No, it
No,
is.
I know it's not
Marvel Champions, the card game.
I never will get it. I thought it's not going to be the Lovecraft one.
Actually, maybe this one's a CCG. Maybe it's not a living card game.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense because I thought
because every hero they release a hero like every month.
Oh, okay.
I find so annoying because it's just like, oh, okay, so do I wait? And oh no, I can't get them anymore because that's the nature of board games, or I have to spend $15. Which it'd be fine if we had a board game town and store, like a board game store in town that didn't suck, but we don't. So that means that I have to order something online that was only $15 plus pay $11 shipping, and that just infuriates me. I love the game. I feel like I'm actually playing the heroes. I get to pick whichever hero I want. It doesn't handcuff me to any type of play style. The only thing that can sometimes be frustrating is it is a lot of stuff going on all at once. I want to say Garfield is one of the designers, but I could be wrong. But
he likes lasagna.
He does. So that's my number 32, Marvel Champions by Fantasy Flight Games.
My number 32, I find it interesting that I picked this one and not the other one. And I'm surprised that I didn't put the other one in because both games are so different. I couldn't put them on this list at the same element because they are very different, even though they share a good chunk of the same name. My wife prefers the other one because I think it's a bit more refined. Where I like the previous one, because it's more thematically consistent. It feels more original, and I like the way it feels more thematically consistent. Where the other one feels like it made too many compromises. And this is the Castles of Mad King Ludwig. You had Palace.
I've got both.
You had both, but I know Palace. I'm not sure. No, Castles hasn't popped up for you yet because it was coming soon.
No, I mean I own both.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I like Castles more. I think Palace I like less, primarily because it's just another tile game. It's just another tile game. It's a very good tile game. You know, you expand out, you create this palace. There's a big water feature. You pick up all these little tokens. You make all these points. It's a very good, competent game. In fact, it's one of my favorite tile laying game, although it's not my favorite.
Oh, so you like the older one?
Yeah, the older one.
Yeah.
And I think I like the older one because you make castles that feel like castles. The rooms are way different shapes. You can create these elaborate arrangements where a tile is just like, oh, look, square, 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 a room. But the fact having these large areas, big fields, and you feel like your castle is actually unique compared to Palace, where everyone's basically working off the same building. I love the uniqueness of castles. It's a fun game. So that is number 32, The Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
All right.
Last one.
In at number
31. Oh, you got it. 2 in a row.
This one I can guarantee hardly anybody has heard of, and shame! Shame! Ding ding, shame, ding ding. This is a great game, and not enough people give it props. That has got some great titles. Valley of the Dead King, Forest of the Damned, Domain of Misra Noctis. Because it's 6 chapters, and I think they're up to 4 now. Domain of Misra Noctis being the last one, which is the vampires. And then they've got 2 more planned. And this is Hexplorit. Exactly. You haven't heard of it.
I know. I've heard of Hexpanse.
Yeah, no, this is Hexplorit. It is as close to a pen and paper RPG as you can get without being a pen and paper RPG. And it is so detailed with what you can do. The only thing about the game that is kind of is sometimes you feel a little rushed in the game because, for example, in the first one, which is Valley of the Dead King, you're trying to beat exploring and leveling up your character before you encounter the Dead King, which really almost sort of feels like help me out here, Lord of the Rings. Bad guy.
Oh, Saruman?
Yeah.
Sauron.
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 Because whenever you encounter the dead king, he is like massively more powerful than you are. So you need to level up before you can get that. But you've got to journey across the land and encounter events, and you got to go to all these different cities and do quests while you're still outrunning the king, but also at the same time trying to protect other cities from his henchmen and stuff. So it's quite interesting. The third one, that's what the third one, Sands of Shirax. It gets a lot of vitriol for the fact that its combat system is very complex, but really, you play through it a couple times, you get it down. It is not an easy to learn game. The learning curve is like it's not a gentle learning curve.
No, it's yeah.
You hit the wall and you need to start climbing. But it is still a good game. So that is my number 31, Hexplort.
Where is it?
It's right over there. It's right under Spyfall 2.
Oh.
So the red one...
That's a cool sequence of boxes.
Yeah. So
the explorers might have no idea because there's no labels on it.
They used to be so you could actually see them, but yeah, then they actually look like books. And so Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3.
Very dramatic. My number 31 is not that at all. In fact, I do believe my game can fit... You can play with 20 of my game in those boxes.
Yeah.
Because mine's the opposite of that one. This game has a bit of a personal appeal because it's one of my wife's favorite games. And it's
Feast
up there with...
Feast for Odin.
Oh, no, I already covered Feast for Odin way up above. But it's a pocket game. So one of the games right up there with Tiny Epic Galaxy we take on trips. It was so dear to us that when we were doing our professional wedding photos, it was one of, I think, 2 or 3 games that we actually took photos with. That's Odin's Ravens. It's such an interesting game. It's got unique cards that I don't see anywhere else except for maybe Space Base. It's just a racing game, and you're laying down cards and you're running across and you have to go and come back, and it's pretty simple. It's also a game where, once again, the opposite of Jamaica. There have been situations where I was the lead all the way to the end and Nicole got past me and won. And I appreciate it's simplistic. There's been a couple times where I've really liked these pocket-sized racing games. And there's been a bunch. And it seems like none of them seem to really capture the uniqueness of Odin's Ravens. It looks very pretty for what it is. And yeah, you're just 2 ravens, a black and a white, and you're racing across terrain, and you're just laying down cards in order to match the terrain that you want him to move to. Very straightforward. You got a lot of cool abilities like to change terrain and so forth, but it's very good. You can play it in about 10 minutes. And that's my number 31. Odin's Ravens. Almost anticlimactic. It's not even it's like Massive Darkness, or, Nemesis. It's like, it's a game about this big, about this stuff, and cost about $20.
Yep. So, once again, I've been Dave.
And I have been Chris.
And that was our 40 through 31 of our top 100. And remember, the rules are just a suggestion.
Play the game the way you want to play it. Hey!